Hi, I'm Stephen Head from Archery Supplies, and this is the XF-33 with the E2 cam. Now, when PSE released this new bow, the XF-33 and the XF-30, I was a little confused because PSE have the EVL-32 and the EVL-34. Now, the last two digits refer to the axle to axle size, so this is 33 inches, the EX30 is 30 inches, the EVL 34 is 34 inches, and the EVL 32 is 32 inches. Now, when they released this bow, they released it with three cams. This cam, the E2 cam, which is just monstrous. It goes from 28.5 inches to 32 inches. So for people with a really big draw length, 340 feet per second, a 7-inch brace height. The bow itself is meant to be 4.5. It feels a bit heavier. But then they've got two other cams, the S2 cam and the EC cam. Now, you'll be familiar with the EC cam because that's the cam they feature on all the PSE bows, where this cam looks very aggressive to draw, so it's going to be kind of interesting on how it draws. So I checked the speeds on this bow. So 340 on this cam, the other cams are a little bit slower, let's say around 335 up to 340, so it wasn't a big difference in speed. Then I looked at the EVL-34 to try and make some sort of comparison between the bows, and I think that bow was around the 334, so it was almost identical in speed. So I'm like, well, why has PSE got these different bows that are almost the same? And I was a bit confused. Now, with the XF-30 and the XF-33, they're more expensive than the EVL. Now, I'm not sure if that means PSE is going to replace the EVL or not, whether the XF is going to replace the EVL, but currently the EVL is still in the lineup. So that was a bit confusing. Now, the first thing I looked at was the price point. And the first thing I thought was PSE's got their pricing wrong, because I thought this was too expensive. So in Australia, this is going to sell for about $1,700. That's Australian dollars. In America, they sell for about $1,300 US. So I converted the $1,300 US to Australian dollars and I got $1,850. So I'm like, well, that's pretty close. It's obviously cheaper to buy the bow in Australia and ship it to America, because then you get 10% off taxes here. So I'm like, well, that's probably about right. But then when I compared the XF to all the other brands in America, because it's, like comparing American in Australia is different to comparing American in American, because the freight's different into Australia depending on the bow company. So I went through and I compared them, and this is one of the more expensive machine risered hunting bows on the market. So a few years ago, when PSE released this style of cam, it was called the NXT31 and NXT33. It was about $1,350, and at the time I thought that was a really good price point. It was significantly cheaper than all the other manufacturers, and it was a very good bow. Now I look at this bow and I'm going, actually the price point's higher than all the other companies. It's just ballpark numbers from the Elite, which is a very nice, like the top of the line bows are all very nice. So you've got to compare like apples to apples. This is significantly more expensive than the Elite. Similar to the Bowtech, a little bit more expensive than Bowtech, more expensive than Hoyt. Now that's never happened before. And it's more expensive than Matthews. It's never happened before where PSE is more expensive than Matthews and Hoyt. PSE's always been your meat and potato kind of bow for the guy who's looking for an affordable bow that's good quality, shoots well, and is a budget price. Where this bow's, PSE's up the price point. Now also, this bow is more expensive than the EVL. The EVL retails for about $1,600. So whether that's because materials have gone up with COVID and the EVL hasn't seen that price hike, and Bowtech and Hoyt and Elite has got to put up their prices yet because of the shortage of materials, I don't know. I'm just saying it's a more expensive bow. So let's look at this bow. It's got two arrow rest holes here, which is, that's good. It's a rubber grip, which you see on all the other PSEs. You can take this rubber grip off if you want to reduce torque. The rubber grip's quite comfortable. The cable guard's adjustable in or out. PSE's had this before. This cable guard looks exactly like the Elite cable guard. It's bolted on twice, which I really like. I think this is a significant improvement to the other PSE cable guards in the past, and I'm a big fan of this. So even though this bow is more expensive than the PSEs of past, I really like this cable guard and the way it bolts on. So look, it's worth a bit more to spend. The limb pockets in the XF are machined. PSE basically swap over to a machine at plus $1,000. Got the ability here for a two-piece quiver there and there, multiple sight holes to move the sight up and down there, multiple stabilizer positions there and there, and lower stabilizer position there. The cam system is yoke, so it's a twin cam, and you can twist up the yokes. Twisting up the yokes on one side versus the other has a minor impact to tear, so I'm going to say, look, I'm not going to recommend it. You get more adjustment through shimming the bow, and I'm talking shimming the thinnest of the modules of their spaces here. The limb bolt goes into this little thing here. On the side here's a little plastic tab, and it's hiding basically where you'd normally see how much thread's left in the bolt. I'd prefer to see this gone, and I'd prefer to see how much thread's left when I'm winding the bow out. PSE says you can wind this bow down 10 turns, which I'm going to guess will get you somewhere around 20 pounds worth of adjustment in poundage. That's a guess. It comes, obviously this is the black, it comes in the camos. Look, it looks very much like the EVL. It looks like an EVL with a full throttle cam system, with a speed cam system on it. The modules look the same. You can adjust in the draw length is simple on a PSE. A's been the longest and I being the shortest. Each letter's half an inch. PSE is the simplest bow to adjust draw length on. To adjust let off, if you want to reduce it, you just move this forward. Now in the shop the other day, I had a customer come in, they're like, look, I want to try some bows. And the first bow I had was a Bowtech, and I must have worked on it for 40 minutes getting the draw length right for him. He then tried a PSE. It literally took me a minute. It was just like, this is easy. The Bowtech, I had to put in a bow press and pull the strings off to try and get into where the little rub screws are on the draw length modules. So there's the draw length modules there that you need to get access to. You see it's easy to get access. You do not need a bow press. So for me, I was like, oh, and you needed, because the Bowtech had huge cams, you needed special limb adapters in the bow press, and I was like, this is a big job. The PSE is very easy to work on. The PSE bows are generally pretty bulletproof. Lifetime warranty. So if something goes wrong in your lifetime, the original user, they cover you. That does not include strings and cables. Now, you buy the bow secondhand, there's nothing. There's no use crying if you buy the bow secondhand. So if you're buying a bow secondhand, get it cheap, because if those limbs break or something happens, you basically, you've got not much. So the balance on the bow looks great. Just sort of sitting there, nicely balanced. It feels pretty good. Let's try the draw cycle and let's try the speed through the bow. Okay, so this is a 60-pound bow. It's set on 29 inches straight out the factory. I have not tried this bow yet. Literally, I came in my shop today and we're doing a test today. So I haven't tried it. The ones I have had in before this have all sold. So this is a gold tip velocity arrow. It's a 400 spine with a 90 grain point. I think it's 327 grains. This is an arrow I normally put through on all the tests. So at the very start of this draw, it's solid. So it's solid from the very start. Some bows, they give you a bit at the start. So this bow is going to be quick. I'm kind of a bit concerned how it's going to be in the valley, whether it's going to dump off because it's got such big cams. So whoa, it dumped off. So you're getting it. It kind of feels like the same poundage. It's pretty severe all the way through until you hit the valley and then it just poof, drops off. Now it's not as severe as the Expedite or the Full Throttle, and when you get back there it feels pretty solid, but when it sort of drops into the valley it's not smooth like the EC cam. But 319 feet per second is impressive. That didn't hurt my shoulders at all, and it might be that I'm shooting recurve at 50 pounds that I've just built up strength, but that felt... Look, I'm not a fan of the drop off. I like the bow to be smooth into the valley, but that was super fast. It's interesting, 303 feet per second, so we'll shoot one more. A big difference. You can see that time I drew it back better, so the valley wasn't... I was kind of expecting the valley, so I was drawing it back a lot better that time. .317. Now the bow's completely dead in the hand and very silent. I don't know if you can hear how silent this bow is. It's very silent. Now you'll see this little tag here. This is the live wire string. So PSE make their strings by computers on their more expensive bows. That way it reduces peak rotation and stuff. It's got a little tag here. Normally when I do the test, this tag flies off. It's not flying off, and that's pretty quick. 319, 317. Now these arrows are my target arrows. They're Victories, 350s with 150 grain point on the front. Pretty heavy. I think they're 390. But like super quiet and very fast. So I suppose I started this review saying, God, this bow's expensive. And I don't really like the size of the cams because it looks like a full throttle, which I own. I own a full throttle because it's kind of cool. This is much smoother than a full throttle to draw back. You can reduce that massive 90% let off through moving that spacer forward. Extremely fast, very easy to draw, much easier to draw than the full throttle or the Expedite. But still, and not the speed of a full throttle. Full throttle's 370, this is 340. The Expedite was, I think, 360, this is 340. So it's a much easier draw than both of those bows, but yet still very fast. That was 280 feet per second. You can see the bow's not, I'm getting no vibration in the hand at all. Very quiet. Very good bow to shoot. I think with that, what we'll do is we'll sight this bow in at 18 meters and we'll see how we shoot with it. It's very interesting. So I was a big fan of the XT33 and the XT35. Huge fan of the EVL34. I thought it was very smooth, very easy to shoot. And now I'm like, what's PSE done with this? But this bow feels really good. Now, I'm going to say the other bows at the top end of the market, Elite, Bowtech, Hoyt, Matthews, are good bows. So I almost feel like you're now hitting a brand thing on the price point, and I thought this bow was too expensive. And just shooting those few arrows, I'm like, actually, this is pretty good. It feels really good. Okay, let's shoot this at 18 and see how well I shoot with it. Okay, so I'm back at 18 meters, and I've shot a group, one arrow in the target, and I've just adjusted my sight, so I'm hoping they're going to go in the middle. We'll see. Now this is the same cam I shot with the Levitate, and I shot extremely well with the Levitate, and I didn't think I would. So we'll see how we go with this one. I think I'll actually shoot better with this bow than the Levitate because this bow's heavier. The Levitate's lighter, so you tend to move around more. With a heavier bow, you tend to be more stable, so as long as you can hold it up. Saying that, the Levitate sells unbelievably well because it's a very light bow, and people like buying light bows for hunting, so they don't have a lot of mass weight to carry around when they're hunting. And generally when you're hunting, you're shooting close distance, so you're not that interested in pinpoint accuracy. So people don't mind spending extra for a lighter bow. So let's see how we go with this. Now, one of my viewers or one of my friends on Facebook said, did you see what John Dudley did at 100 yards with the Levitate? And he said it was a 4-inch group, which means he was hitting the 10 in a target round every time with a hunting bow with no stabilizers. I'm like, well, at World Championships, that does not occur. So that's the best archers with the best stuff, all the stabilizers, target scopes. They don't hit the target 10 every single arrow at 90 meters. It just doesn't happen. So I'm like, look, it is what it is. He's a good shot, but he's not going to hit that group all the time with a hunting bow. It would have been, let's film some shots to get this happening. It's not going to occur all the time. You're not going to see people shooting Levitates for target archery or world championships. So, with that said, you can still shoot particularly well with a hunting bow, and you could shoot particularly well with this bow. But if you're looking for accuracy, you're generally looking for bigger brace heights. Now this has got a 7-inch brace height, so this should be quite forgiving to shoot. And I don't see any reason why you couldn't shoot this bow for field archery or even target archery, but the draw cycle's not as smooth as you'd probably want for target archery. So let's, fingers crossed, let's hope this first arrow goes in the middle. And it did. Now this bow aims particularly well, so I'm not getting any vibration up or down. The pin just sat in the middle and I shot it. Saying that, when I draw back, I always draw back aiming at the target, as you should do, and when I draw back and I get that valley, my sight pin moves because of the bow moves. So basically that's coming to the valley, so they've got to re-aim the bow. With the EC cam, I can aim basically pretty much through the whole process. So still, this bow is particularly nice to shoot. There's virtually no vibration, no shock, it's quiet. Now I'm just shooting with a basic whisker biscuit, D-loop, no peep sight, basic 3-pin sight. These are my target arrows. These are the Victory BAPs, which I've had for years. I shot it into the wood. I just extracted the arrow out of the wood. It was fine. I had to dig a big hole in the wood to get it out, but the arrow was fine. Now, I've got an old PSE called the EVL. The Evolution, I think it's about 10 years old. And that was one of my first hunting bows. I've been shooting forever, but it's one of my older hunting bows. It's basically the first of this kind of line of bow that PSE did. It's still perfectly good today, and I look at that and compare it to this bow. This bow shoots particularly well. The old PSE Evolution shot particularly well also. Nice machining on the riser, limbs are basically still the same, they're wooden glass limbs. This has the big thick axle to stop cam lean and stuff, where the Evolution had thinner cams. Bearings in the cams here. But this is a nice bow, and in 10 years time you'll still be shooting this bow and thinking this is a nice bow. Now sometimes you'll see me struggle with drawing back the bow 7-inch brace height, so I'm actually drawing back less energy than like a 6-inch brace height bow because it's 1 inch shorter stroke on the 7 versus the 6, so basically less energy being put out by me into this bow than with a shorter brace height. So full throttle is a 5-inch brace height, so 2 inches of extra drawing. The bow just sits there. It's just really good. Like the cable guard. I'm going to say on the PSEs, they've had an acquired grip taste. You either like the PSE grip or you didn't. In the past, all the PSE grips were pretty much the same, and it was just, that's the way PSE was. Same as the Matthews grips were unique, and the Hoyt grips were unique, although Hoyt has different grips for target and hunting. This rubber grip is very, very comfortable. I really like it. And it's the same grip that you'll see on a PSE Stinger, the 2022 version, or it's the same grip you'll see on the previous bows that PSE's been fitting. They're very comfortable, nice to shoot. It just seems too easy to shoot. It really does. Now with levitate, from what I can remember of me shooting the levitate, I'm going to say it's probably got more vibration than this bow. It felt faster, and I think it's faster because it's got a shorter brace height. So it would have been harder for me to draw, and it would have generated more speed than this bow. But this bow is very comfortable, very easy to shoot. I'm not sure where I am in that shot. I feel like I released it when the arrow was in the 9 ring at 9 o'clock. It was after the shot went off. I was like, is my pin in the middle? I don't think it is. But it's okay. The bow feels nice to shoot. Let's just fire a couple more. So on the price point, I started with the price point of this bow, going it's over the price point of the other bows, and I do like the other bows that I've reviewed. I thought they've been very nice. This bow is very nice. Now the thing with the other bows, like the Elite, you can adjust the string stop, you've got a cable stop which is fully adjustable, the draw length fully adjustable. Not as easy to adjust as this bow. You've got the ability to tune the limbs on the Elite, and with the Bowtech you can tune the cam left to right. Saying that, I really haven't done any cam tuning on any of my PSEs. I just go and shoot, and they tend to shoot okay. So just fire one more. I really like the bow. Now, if you're going to work on a bow in a bow press, wind the bow down and apply the least amount of tension on the limbs that you can to get the strings off. Too many people crank the bow press, putting lots of pressure on these limbs. You can see these limbs are beyond parallel, which means basically they're there. So if you put in a normal bow press, this will fall straight through. But if you crank this in a bow press, you will break these limbs. You'll get splinters in the bellies, that compression cracks. So I had it today with a customer complaining because he, after a year of buying some second-hand limbs, his limbs cracked in the belly. And I said to my staff, of all the PSEs I sell, and I sell heaps of, like, lots of PSE bows. In my state, South Australia, we have only broken one set of limbs. And it was one of my staff over-cranked the bow. I know we did it. You've just got to be so careful. Because, look, these limbs are going to move that much. That's all you can do in a bow press. You've got that much movement. Don't do it anymore because you're going to break the limbs. Now, all bow companies use the same limbs these days. They're all using Gordon glass, so that rule applies with all bows. I had a customer the other day broke his limbs on another brand of bow exactly the same way as I just mentioned, putting in the bow press and cranking it too much. Apply the least pressure possible. I kind of pull the strings off the side to get the little strings off and on. And hopefully we haven't broke, well, like I said, we broke one, and that was one of my staff basically put it on under too much tension. The bow was fully wound up. Now the XF, they do 60, I think they might even do 50 pounds, but they go right up to 80 pound this year. So for the big bow hunter who wants to shoot big game, that's very good. PSE haven't done that in the past because the cams haven't been strong enough to cope with 80 pounds. So now they do. This is a very nice bow to shoot. Let's go down and look at the groups and see how it shoots. Okay, so that was obviously a really good group. I can get my fingers around the whole group. One high, look, that doesn't even worry me. The other arrows are all touching. They're pretty good. I would be happy with that group with a target bow. I shot target last weekend up in a club up in Peary, which is 3 hours north of Adelaide, and that's probably better than I shot with all my targets set up. Whether I was fatigued or not from working on a house, I don't know, like I didn't shoot that bad, but that's a really good group with no stabilizers, no peep sight, no nothing. With a speed bow. So my summary, I think PSE produce a very adjustable, easily adjustable bow that tends to be very durable. You can just go out and shoot it. It's just easy. Everything's easy. You don't have to think about things. You just go shoot and it'll shoot amazing. Like, that's not tuned, that's just amazing. Like, I didn't even put a bow square on, I just like lined it up 90 degrees, bang, 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 and you get this group. You go to any club, shoot that group, you're going to be one of the top shooters in the club. So saying that, look, I think there's some bows on the market that have different technology that is very cool. PSE, I guess, would say you don't need that technology. Like, the bow should shoot straight out of the box and should shoot well straight out of the box. The XF does shoot well straight out of the box. I'm still going to stick to my point. This bow does come with 3 cams, which is confusing. The cams allow different draw lengths. So the E2 is the longest draw length, the C will be a smoother draw length, and the S2 is a shorter draw length. That's going to confuse a lot of people in my view. I don't know if it was a great marketing idea, but it is what it is. The bow itself is a nice bow. On the price point, I sort of started this video saying the price point is quite high with this bow compared to other bows on the market. We're talking about $100 to $200 more expensive or a similar price point. This bow shoots nice. And if I was in the market for a new bow, I'm not going to say this bow shoots any worse than any of those other top bows. And it's got lots of stuff going for it. The bow is very quiet. There's no vibration. Very easy to adjust, very adjustable. PSE sells very well secondhand because it just caters for a wide range of archers. Where with bows like your Matthews, where it's module specific, you'll find those bows will drop off on price point as they are secondhand, because it's hard to get modules and then it's hard to sell the bow because it's drawing specific. Where the PSE will, 28.5 to 32, that's a big range of archers that are suitable of shooting this bow. Lots of poundage adjustment. It's just a very easy bow to sell. Saying that, I don't know if you'll ever sell this bow if you buy it, because it's like, is there going to be a bow better than this? I don't think there's been that much advancement in 10 years that you look at the bow and you go, this bow is significantly better. Yes, this is better than my PSE Evolve from 10 years ago, and given both bows, I wouldn't shoot the Evolve again. But the Evolve is still a cool bow, and it's it's a bow that I remembered from 10 years ago, so I've got no intention of selling it. So I think for 2022, this is a very interesting bow, and a very interesting bow in a 30-inch axle for hunting, target shooting, field, 3D. It's pretty quick, shoots really well. I'm going to say, if you're in the market for a new bow, the best bet's to go into your local shop and try them. Say, look, give me a shot with this one, give me a shot with that one, and then I can feel it out. I'd say there's not a lot of difference between most of these top bows. They are very, very good. I would have no problems shooting one of these bows, and I did enjoy shooting it tonight. I'm Stephen Hand from Archery Supplies. Thanks for watching. Bye.